Daniel Carter woke up before his alarm, the way he had for years. But this morning felt heavier. The room was quiet, wrapped in early Chicago light, and for a moment he just lay there, staring at the ceiling. His chest felt tight, not from fear, but from certainty something was ending. He didn't need anyone to say it out loud. 15 years in the same company had trained him to sense changes before they were announced. He got dressed slowly, choosing his gray coat, the one he wore, on important days. Outside, the city moved like it always did, boozes roaring, people rushing, life continuing without pause. Daniel walked to the train station with steady steps, his reflection in the glass showing a man calm on the outside and restless within. He wasn't angry, he wasn't panicked. He was alert, like someone standing in the final seconds before a door closes. At Northline Consulting, the building welcomed him with its familiar, chill and polished floors. He scanned his badge, hearing the soft beep that had marked the start of his workdays for over a decade. As he stepped inside, he noticed small things others wouldn't. How the receptionist smiled a little too quickly. How two coworkers stopped talking when he passed. How his calendar looked strangely empty. These were signs, quiet but clear. Daniel reached his desk and sat down. The space was neat, just as he kept it. No personal photos, no clutter. Over the years, he had learned not to bring too much of himself into work. Still, this desk had seen late nights, tired mornings, and silent victories no one had celebrated. He ran his hand over the wood once, then opened his laptop. Emails came in, but none were urgent. No tasks, no questions. That, more than anything, confirmed what he already knew. His phone buzzed gently. A message lit up the screen. Emily Rhodes. She worked in marketing 2 floors below, but somehow she always knew when something was wrong. They had met years ago during a long project, bonding over shared stress and quiet humor. Over time, their conversations had grown softer, deeper, but always careful, respectful, safe. Thinking of you today, her message read. Whatever happens, you're stronger than you think. Daniel read it twice. He didn't reply right away. He let the words settle. Emily had a way of saying the right thing without asking questions. She didn't push. She didn't pretend. She simply saw him, around him. The office hummed. Phones rang. Printers clicked. Laughter floated from a meeting room down the hall. The normal sounds felt distant, like they belonged to another world. Daniel checked the time. 9:47 a.m. At exactly 9:58, his inbox refreshed. Daniel, please come to conference room. Be at 10 a.m. No greeting. No explanation. He closed his laptop slowly. Round him, no one looked up. Maybe they already knew. Maybe they were afraid. To meet his eyes, Daniel stood, straightened his jacket, and took a deep breath. His heart beat faster now, but his steps remained calm as he walked down the hallway. Conference room B had glass walls, open and exposed. Inside, Mark Sullivan, his manager, sat at the table with a folder in front of him. Next to Mark sat a woman from HR, her hands folded, her face neutral. They both looked up when Daniel entered, wearing expressions practiced many times before. Daniel nodded once and took his seat. Before anyone spoke, a strange thought crossed his mind. He remembered his first day at Northline. He'd been younger, nervous, hopeful. He believed hard work would always be rewarded. That loyalty mattered. Over the years, he had watched others come and go, had watched promises change shape. Somewhere along the way, he had stopped believing in guarantees. Mark cleared his throat. Daniel, he said, his voice careful, thank you for coming. Daniel met his eyes, saying nothing. As Mark began to speak, using words like transition and adjustment, Daniel listened without interrupting. He had heard versions of this before, whispered in hallways, delivered to others with the same tone. It felt unreal how quickly 15 years could be turned into a short conversation. Yet, beneath the surface, something unexpected happened. Daniel felt calm, not numb, not empty. They thought this moment would shake him. But they didn't know about the nights he had spent thinking ahead. The plans he had quietly formed, the strength he had rebuilt piece by piece after years of being overlooked. Didn't know he had already imagined this ending and survived it in his mind? As Mark continued talking, Daniel noticed how the sunlight hit the table, how dust floated in the air. Life, he realized, did not stop for job titles or company names. It moved on, steady and sure. When Mark paused, waiting for a reaction, Daniel simply nodded. "I understand," Daniel said. And in that moment, before the meeting had even truly begun, he realized something important. They believed they were about to take something from him. They had no idea how much he was about to gain. The meeting did not last long, but every second felt sharp and clear in Daniel's mind. Mark Sullivan leaned forward, speaking in a low, steady voice, explaining changes in the company. Shifts in direction, new leadership goals. The HR manager nodded at the right moments, sliding papers across the table as if they were ordinary documents and not the summary of 15 years. Daniel listened closely, not because he needed to understand, but because he wanted to remember how easily loyalty could be reduced to polite words. Mark avoided using the word fired. Instead, he spoke of letting go and moving forward. Daniel noticed how practiced the tone was, how the sentences sounded safe and clean. There was no anger in the room, no raised voices, only distance. When Mark finally finished, the silence felt heavier than the speech itself. The HR manager explained the process next. Final paycheck. Benefits timeline. A short period to clear his desk. Her voice was calm, almost kind, but distant. Daniel nodded once more. He asked no questions. He already knew the answers. What surprised them was how steady he looked, how little he reacted. They had expected shock, maybe fear. They got control instead. Mark cleared his throat again. "Daniel, I want you to know this isn't personal. Your work has always been solid." Daniel met his eyes. "I know," he said simply. That response unsettled Mark more than anger would have. There was no argument to fight, no guilt to ease, just acceptance. The meeting ended as quietly as it began. Daniel stood, shook Mark's hand, then nodded to the HR manager. As he walked out, he felt the weight of the room fall away behind him. The hallway seemed longer than before, filled with soft echoes of office life that no longer belonged to him. Back at his desk, he sat down and looked around. The office felt smaller now, like a place he had already outgrown. He opened a drawer and began placing his few personal items into a box. A notebook, a pen Emily once gave him after a late project, a coffee mug with a faded logo. Each item carried a memory, but none of them hurt. They felt complete, like chapters already read. A few coworkers passed by, pretending to be busy. One stopped and offered a quiet apology. Another gave a sad smile. Daniel thanked them, keeping his voice calm. He did not explain himself. He did not complain. There was no need. This moment belonged to him, not to the room watching. As he packed, his phone buzzed again. "Emily, I saw the HR manager leave your floor," her message said. "I'm so sorry." Daniel paused before replying. "It's okay," he typed. "I'll be done soon." The words surprised even him. They were true. When the box was full, Daniel stood and took one last look at his desk. He felt no urge to linger, slipped his badge from his pocket and placed it gently on the surface, the same badge that once made him feel important. Now it was just plastic. The walk to the elevator felt slow. Each step echoed with quiet finality. Inside the elevator, he stood alone, watching the numbers change. When the doors opened on Emily's floor, she was already waiting near the wall. As if she had sensed the exact moment their eyes met. She didn't rush toward him. She didn't say anything dramatic. She simply stepped closer and spoke softly. "Are you okay?" Daniel nodded. "I am." They walked together toward the exit, side by side. The silence between them was gentle, not awkward. Outside, the city greeted them with noise and movement, alive and uncaring. Cars passed, people hurried by. The world had not noticed his ending. They stopped near the building entrance. Emily looked at him, searching his face. "You don't seem broken," she said quietly. "I thought I would be," Daniel admitted. "But I'm not." She smiled, just a little. "That means you're ready for something else." Daniel exhaled slowly, feeling the truth of her. Words settled inside him. For the first time in years, there was no schedule pulling him back inside, no meeting waiting, only open time and quiet possibility. As they parted, Emily touched his arm briefly, a small gesture filled with warmth. "Call me later," she said. "I want to hear what you'll do next." Daniel watched her walk away, then turned toward the street. He adjusted his coat and stepped forward, carrying his box with steady hands. Behind him, Northline Consulting continued its day, unaware of what it had released. And as Daniel disappeared into the crowd, one thought stayed with him, clear and strong. This was not the end of his story. It was the moment everything finally began.